So my first love is Made in Manhattan from 2002, directed by Wayne Wang, starring Jennifer Lopez, Ray Fiennes, Natasha Richardson. With logline, a senatorial candidate falls for a hotel maid, thinking she is a socialite when he sees her trying on a wealthy woman's dress. Okay, fine.
That's the plot. That
That's the
is, it's
plot.
a little wordy, but that's the plot.
Yeah, it's me bringing another rom-com to the table because this is what a lot of what made it to India, but also what I watched. And I love rom-coms, especially
Hmm.
from the 90s and what year was this? Early 2000s. So
Yeah,
this
2002, I
is
think.
sort of right before things start to go terribly wrong with rom-coms. And this is not a great rom-com, but it's fine and enjoyable. But I do remember Rafe making an impression on me because of all the things we've been talking about. Because he is touted as a leading man in the movie
Uh-huh.
who's supposed to be very attractive and alluring, on the right side of doing the right stuff. But there is something a little bit off with him. And you could say that maybe it doesn't work as a leading man, or I think it's a feature, not a bug. And there's something waspy and something just a little bit irritating about him in this movie, which I really caught on to right from the beginning. And that's what has defined kind of his persona to me. In fact,
Mm.
the quiz show guy could be in this movie, that same
Yeah,
character, actually,
actually, you're
you know,
right. Yeah,
who's
yeah. He goes on to
attractive,
become a senator now.
intelligent. Yeah,
And yeah.
all things are right on paper. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't think the question guy is a Republican. This one is, but who that doesn't matter to me anyway. Arbitrary things for the most part. But yeah, it's interesting to see him in that light. But I think Quiz Show is obviously, superior drama. It's serious as Robert Redford. This is in the sheen of a Jennifer Lopez rom-com. So it's kind of fun to see Rafe in that light because I don't think he's ever done something like this after that, even though his character is very much in conversation with other things that he's played. So that's what I love about him in this movie. Overall, I think, yeah, the movie may not age super well, what have you, but I think Jennifer Lopez is very good at this sort of stuff, and she holds the movie. Not everything fully comes together from a plot detail standpoint, but it has heart in it. You're in New York, you're in beautiful hotels, and good things might come your way. Who doesn't want that? I want that. It's all corny shit, but I like it.
So yeah, I'd never seen this before,
Of
and
course.
yeah, this is actually the second Wayne Wang romantic comedy that he also did. The Holiday that we talked about, I think, on one of our holiday episodes.
Yes.
That also did not work for me. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this film very much, and I thought the thing that didn't work the most for me was Ray Fiennes.
It's
I'm
odd.
it's so I'm a big J-Lo fan. I've always liked her music, her especially her acting. So I was happy to see, okay, J-Lo romantic comedy. And I thought she did a very good job.
It's
She is
very
very
good.
good at playing the relatable working class character who has a lot of energy and on-screen presence. She had all of that, and I felt every time Rafe would come into the picture, he was like a wet blanket to be thrown over this energy of
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez. Like he was like floundering around because I don't think there was much to this character other than good-looking guy who's chasing the more interesting, female lead of the movie, which is it's a classic, romantic comedy role for the man, and I just don't think Ray Fiennes fits in that. There needed to be more to his character, I think, to make it interesting to him, or at least have his persona come across. It just he was too bland, I felt, in this. And I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. You mentioned he didn't really do anything after this, and I'm really not surprised. I think he realized that this was not the right type of vehicle for what he can bring to the stage, even though this movie was a hit. I remember when
Oh
this
yeah.
came out, this was not a flop at all. I think a lot of that, though, was due to J-Lo and her, like, this was sort of the beginning of her major phase as an actress and sort of being a leading woman. So I thought she maybe probably carried the box office a bit. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like offensive to me, this
No.
film, but I felt it when J-Lo especially wasn't on the screen. I felt it was kind of a little bit boring. I mean, it's a typical Cinderella story, that
Yeah.
I do like Cinderella stories. And those can be really fun. A Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff is a fun movie that I like. But this, I don't know, something about Ray Fiennes, honestly, and this was odd. And was he supposed to have an American accent? Or was it supposed to be like
Yeah.
a Boston Brahmin kind of like upper
Yeah.
class accent? Because I just couldn't tell if he was supposed to be British because he's acting
It's
very
somewhere
like
in the middle. It's
erudite.
mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's that I was trying to figure out the entire time. Like, is he supposed to? But he's a senator, so maybe So that was yeah, not the worst film I've ever seen, but
No,
it wasn't filled with enough romance or comedy actually for me to really. I just like following J-Lo, I'll
he's
I'll
great in it.
I'll watch
Yeah.
her on screen.
I love the Cinderella story part, but also you don't get to see the lives of the working class in
Hmm.
this kind of detail. I think they do a very good job. Again, if this movie were made today, it'll all be kind of very on the nose that, oh, class differences and what have you. And that's very much in the movie. But because they flesh out so much of her day-to-day life, her relationship with her son, her relationship with the other maids, and how the hierarchy in that world, kind of the downstairs of the hotel works, like it's very fleshed out, which I think
Hmm.
is very engaging and interesting. But yeah, I agree, Rafe is a little boring in the movie, but I don't know, the more I've seen this movie, and I have seen it a few times, I'm like, oh, maybe that's the point. Maybe they
Yeah.
were going for something different, because anybody else could have played this part, and made it sing. Like
Yes.
Hugh Grant would
Right.
be great in this role, or whoever. Hugh Jackman would be great in this
Oh,
role.
Hugh Jackman would have been really,
It bring
yeah,
like
really
so
good
much
actually.
light and energy to it. But it's sort of interesting to see somebody like Rafe, who you would not expect in a movie like this, like attractive but a little bit creepy, a little bit boring
Hmm.
in this. So it makes it kind of different in my mind.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
Okay. Well, speaking of different, and you've seen the movie a lot of times, so maybe you can explain this to me. Well, first off, I feel like I'm a big fan of the '90s romantic comedies. I like different types of romantic comedies, and not really the '90s ones. But usually in these '90s movies, there's some super bizarre choice that the filmmakers intend to make. And in this movie, it was making Jennifer Lopez's, I don't know, 7-year-old son be obsessed with Richard Nixon and the Nixon administration in a way that was like he's giving a Nixon speech. She's gifting him the Nixon tapes on CD to listen to. He's talking about, oh, Henry Kissinger, he's obsessed with him too. And there's sort of a moment in the end where it's almost like he's starting to say, well, Ray finds like you made mistakes, but politicians make mistakes, and shouldn't we be forgiving everyone? Like maybe we should be giving Richard Nixon for Watergate. Like what
Oh my
in the
gosh,
hell
yeah.
was up with the 7-year-old Nixon obsession subplot? Like, was the screenwriter part of the Nixon administration? He's like, you know what? Nixon was wrong. I gotta like make sure that Nixon is sort of like given a new image now. And like that was so bizarre. Why do you
So
think they did
bizarre.
that? Like, what was
I
what
have
was with
no
that?
clue. First when I saw it, I had no clue what this is about, because I didn't really care about American parliament. I knew
Right.
Richard Nixon was, bad, but that
Right.
was sort of bad.
Hmm.
I didn't pay much attention, but then yeah, I was like, it's a lot. And then I was like, oh, maybe they're doing this because the kid has like an investigatory kind of mind, and he's obsessed with it because of how bad this was. But
It seemed like
then
he
it
liked him.
turns out he likes him.
Yeah, I
It's just
just
very odd.
so odd. And it's not like the movie sort of treats it like matter of fact, like, oh yeah, of course, like it's a 6-year-old. Everyone goes through that Nixon phase, Like at some point you discover
Right.
Watergate and you love Nixon and Kissinger, and then you kind of grow out of it. It's like the movie doesn't make it into a joke. Like it's not set up to really be a gag per se. It's
No.
just so weird. But I don't know why. There's always this weird thing that in these 90s rom-coms, they have to drop in some just thing that I'm like, what was going on here? Like someone has an agenda. Someone has an agenda going on. It was
Someone
really funny.
agenda
And then
for
throw
sure.
Kissinger in there too. I mean, it's one thing Richard Nixon, but I mean, Kissinger's one of like the evilest
Right.
guys ever lived. Like, why are you
Yeah.
sort of, it's just weird. I just wanted to call that.
Very
Maybe,
odd.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'll have to watch the movie a couple times to try to figure out the Richard
They
Nixon
could have
angle.
picked anybody else. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
yeah,
know.
race characters, Republican. You could have picked any other
Lincoln.
Republican, Lincoln, or
Abraham
anybody.
freaking Lincoln. That would have been a
Exactly.
normal thing for a kid to be. I was obsessed. I
Yeah.
mean, Lincoln's cool. He had a
Yeah.
little hat and everything. Like, what is going on with Nixon? So weird. I just don't
Or
get it.
make it more investigatory, like this kid is obsessed because there's something off here.
Right.
That would have been interesting, but
Yeah,
I
he
don't know
loves
what's
all the president's men, and he's like, "Oh, like
right.
we gotta bring down politicians." So I'm suspicious of the Ray Fiennes character because he's a politician, and maybe they're all bad, like Nixon. And then at the end of the day, the kid learns, well, not all bad, or something like
Right.
that. That actually would make more sense. But I don't know if I ever meet the screenwriters, I'll be like, "Okay, guys, like." Angry Nixon voters, it seemed like to me. They're like, Nixon was wronged, is the message of Made in Manhattan. I don't know.
That is not a popular opinion by
I
any
oh, I know.
stretch.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
so odd to
So
me.
bizarre.
Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.